Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for Conversation with the Coach, the webinar series featuring Coach Wendy Andreatta. My name is Terry Gurnett, class of 1977, and I am the Associate Director of Athletics. Before today's webinar officially begins, I'd like to share a few Zoom tips. There will be a Q&A portion to today's event. If you'd like to ask a question, please submit it through the Q&A function that is located at the bottom of the screen. The presenter will answer the questions at the end of their presentation. If you'd like to view this session with closed captions, please click the CC on the bottom toolbar and select Turn on Subtitles. If you are having any trouble viewing the meeting, you can call in and listen using the phone number that was included in your confirmation email. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our panelists today, Coach Wendy Andreatta. Andreatta has been the coach at the University of Rochester for 14 seasons. Rochester field hockey has risen to national prominence under her tutelage. Her teams have a tremendous winning percentage of 70% and have achieved 10 plus wins in every single season. They have appeared in 5 straight NCAA Division III tournaments, reaching the Elite Eight 3 times, and have claimed 2 Liberty League championships. She has coached 10 All-Americans and a total of 64 All-League Liberty honorees. Her 2018 squad finished 19-3, setting school records in wins, shutouts, goals against, saves percentage, and penalty corners. Her teams have also achieved success in the classroom, with every Rochester team earning the National Field Hockey Coaches Association Academic Award with a team GPA of 3.3 or better, with numerous athletes of distinction who carry a 3.9 or better. Wendy and her staff have been named the Liberty League Coaching Staff of the Year and the National Field Hockey Coaches Association Coaching Staff of the Year. Andreatta was also awarded the Meliora Award from the university, an award which goes to a staff member for outstanding service and contribution to the college and who embodies the school motto of Meliora, ever better. Before taking over at Rochester, Andreatta coached at the University of Connecticut, Hofstra University, Syracuse University, and Columbia University. Andreatta is the Regional Development Manager for USA Field Hockey, overseeing the growth and development of field hockey in the state of New York. As well, she is the coaching director for Empire United Field Hockey, a local club that she started and now has over 100 members. Wendy graduated magna cum laude from the University of Connecticut, where she was a 4-year starter for the Huskies. She was the Big East Rookie of the Year, a 3-time first-team All Big East Conference player, and the most outstanding performer at the Big East tournament as a senior. She still holds the single season record in the Big East tournament score records. Additionally, she was named the COSIDE Academic All-American as a senior. Coach will give her remarks and then open up the Q&A. Thank you again for joining us. We really hope you enjoy the presentation. Wendy?
Thanks, Terry. I also wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. It's really been an interesting 9 months since the pandemic, and I've learned a lot about coaching during that time, a lot about my team, and I had a little presentation I wanted to share with you visually as I talk through the past 9 months. So I will share my screen and start from there. Okay, I may have to call on Ashley to help me out, but I'll just start with the first slide, which has a quote. The more things change, the more they stay the same. And I think that from the visual you can see with the team, we always take our photo in the same spot every single year. And this year we weren't permitted to take a team photo because at the time we were doing our pictures indoors, masks on. And the team asked to be able to celebrate, the team picture in the same manner with which they're accustomed to. So we made our way there and set up in the way that you can see, 6 feet apart. And I thought it was very indicative of the moment where, as a coach, you want to try to allow your team to have a semblance of what they're used to and the things that we're doing as a team together. And what I found to be the most profound moment in that is that they really were, wanting to have the same experience that they've always had. So the constants that have stayed with us in coaching are educating, mentoring, and supporting our team and allowing them to try to have the semblance of normalcy that they expect as student athletes. So for me as a coach and for my assistant coach, Lauren, our goal this season was to try to preserve what we could in a very different moment in time and allow our team to have the kind of experience, at least as close as we could manage to give them, that they deserved as student athletes. So, oh, I think I can do it now. Here we go, slideshow. Okay, great, thank you. So here we go with the picture that I mentioned. This is our team, our 2020 team, assembled in our normal place where we take our photos. And the next slide talks about what we started looking at in the spring as far as adapting to this new normal and thriving in these conditions if we could. So the biggest thing for me as a coach was, what is the role of a coach if I'm not dealing with X's and O's and scouting reports and looking at wins and losses? And for me, as I mentioned, it was really just thinking about mentoring my team, helping them to grow and learn in a format that was a little bit different than normal, and also supporting them. So as student athletes, a coach's role in my view is to help them thrive in the classroom, thrive on the field, and have a positive experience for 4 years. And that is always a challenge in any situation, to allow every player on the team to feel valued, feel part of a program, feel like they're part of something special, and feel like a family. And the challenges that we encountered, of course, were social distancing, wearing masks, being prevented from doing a lot of the things that we typically do as a team, and finding ways to combat that and finding ways together to overcome that. So our mindset, of course, going into this was being able to maintain chemistry despite these conditions, ensuring that our mental health as coaches and student athletes was safe. And that has been a challenge, I will say, given the fact that we are so isolated. We are in our rooms a lot. We're not able to have the kind of team dinners, team bonding moments that I think really help us to grow together and get to know one another. Of course, recruiting has been a challenge as well. There have been travel restrictions obviously placed on many of us, and events are being canceled. Even now, we just had a recruiting event in Buffalo with 90 plus athletes looking forward to being coached by 10 area coaches. That was just canceled today. So as a coach, like finding ways to navigate these, mild, I will say, challenges has been interesting. Also forging connections. So connecting with our team, connecting with our alumni, connecting with fellow colleagues within the department. Those are areas that since the spring, we've been really working on trying to overcome. So the visuals that I shared with you on this slide, as I've mentioned, my assistant coach, Lauren, who played at Syracuse University and has just a wealth of information, has been using a lot of this time to share her knowledge. So the slide on the very left is a program that she's been using called Sports Session Planner that's helped our athletes to visually see what's happening on the field, to collaborate over Zoom, look at positioning on the field. We've done a lot of video analysis this way too, since March. And obviously the photo in the middle shares our team goals. A question that I did receive prior to this presentation, of course, was what are the future goals for the program? And obviously this moment, which was from last fall, when the team captured the Liberty League title, remains the same. We want to try to get to that point. And then on the far side, that's just one of our Zooms with our strength and conditioning coach, Connor Lorenzo, who has been instrumental at finding ways to help the student athletes adapt to strength and conditioning if a gym is closed or if they're stuck in their apartments and they can't get out. So he's been really helpful at helping our student athletes to find new ways to meet their fitness goals. So the next slide goes through a few photos from preseason. So as you can see, things are much the same. We're on the field together, we're competing. And preseason was quite an adventure for me as a coach, because unlike, the preparation that we're typically undergoing as far as looking ahead to our games and preseason scrimmages, we were in pods, essentially 10 players or less, working together on skills and tactics rather than, one-on-one competition, defense, playing scrimmages, things like that. So you can see that in a normal preseason, we would do fitness testing. We would do a lot of team chemistry and team building, skill development, and then ultimately competition. And so during COVID times, Lauren and I really had to adjust and look at fitness as something that we can put in disguise. So we didn't want to add more stress and strain to student athletes who were looking to join us in preseason, but weren't able to train the way that they normally would for preseason. So we really didn't test the same way we normally would. As far as the team chemistry, team building, as I mentioned, we were in small groups and trained in small groups throughout preseason. The middle photo that you can see of the group of 6 athletes, that was our winning pod. So we had a number of different challenges, including pod trivia, pod skill sessions, and ultimately finally games. And this is the winning pod. So the little group there did a great job and ended up winning the pod challenge during preseason. So, you're looking at different ways to compete and different ways to get those competitive juices flowing without bringing a team into preseason to scrimmage as we normally would. As far as skill development, we were able to do a lot of that early on this season because of the small group session and the focus. So we would separate into some defense drills, attack drills, midfield drills, and try to focus on building those individual skills that in a typical season, we may not have the luxury of time to really home in on an individual's need to work on a hit or work on shooting or individual defense. So if there was a silver lining, I would say it was that, the fact that we were able to look at an individual player and help them in a way that we normally may not have had as much time to do. Competition was different. What I thought was fun was the fact that we were able to find so many different ways to compete. A lot of these players pick field hockey because of their competitive desire to win a game or, beat a goalie and score a goal and things like that. So for us, we found as many different ways creatively as we could to compete. We had competition days, we had 4v4 tournaments, 7v7 tournaments, anything we could do to replicate game day and the excitement and the adrenaline that builds from a day like that. So preseason was a lot similar, I would say, in the sense that we were able to bond in smaller groups and work on skill development the way that we normally would. And the next slide kind of goes into what a typical fall would look like for U of R. The 4 words that you see there are the values that our team chose this year. We worked with Dr. Craig Seifer, our sports psychologist, in order to look at why are we doing this? Why are we here? And especially during a pandemic when, a lot of things are more challenging, what drew this group together and what matters to this particular team this season. The words that the team chose were family, heart, integrity, and grit. And the photos that I have there kind of establish those values. The first big picture you can see is our alumni game last year, where we celebrated 50 years of field hockey at the University of Rochester. And we'll talk a little bit more about our alumni and how valuable and special they are to this program. But that photo is from our 50-year celebration. And you can see the generations of field hockey players that played for Coach Posse, myself, Coach Andre, and so many great coaches that came through the years here at Rochester. The photo below is us in the field house, and we have a very special family to Rochester. Lexi Wood, who recently graduated as a mechanical engineering major, her mom would make buttons every season, and they would have the players' photos and their number, and it would allow our parents on the team to get to know each other. And even though we had no season, we had no games, and we had no opportunities for our parents to physically be present to meet one another, the Woods sent a care package with the buttons, and we put them on the team that day and took a photo with it. On the upper right corner, you can see our first years enjoying a rare sunny day, studying outside in November in Rochester, which in of itself is quite unusual. So, the family and the bonds that arrive in these opportunities with the team. We were able to go out and do some team bonding in masks, as you can see. And below is one of our players, Elizabeth Sidorsky, who was our unsung hero last year. and establishes that kind of grit that I often speak of with this team and that they decided was a team value. Sid, during preseason, tore her ACL, which we all know to be one of the toughest injuries to recover from. But her grit and her heart and family and integrity are highlighted so much in the fact that she came back from that injury and she's been with us rehabbing, religiously every day with the team. And she kind of embodies all of these team values. And I wanted to highlight her today during this presentation as someone that not only didn't get to play this year because of the COVID pandemic, but also due to injury has had an even tougher road. My next slide is our 3 leaders this year. So they have been instrumental at creating an environment for this team that is full of work ethic, determination, positivity, and great talent. So the 3 of these young women were selected by their teammates to lead us this year. And of course, our hope is still that we will be able to play a spring season and give these captains a chance to lead on the field as they were voted to be as our on-field captains. And I can't thank them enough for all the things that they've done this fall in order to keep us focused on our goal of being able to continue to compete through a variety of different ways. And so they've, been nothing but positive role models for this program and given us a lot of hope as far as what we can accomplish. One thing that I did want to talk about too, as far as leadership, the pandemic has given us a little more time to collaborate with our colleagues, and our volleyball coach, Lottie, has often done a leadership group where she is able to delegate various types of leadership to other players on the team to kind of lighten the load for captains and provide a richer experience. One thing we talked about in March, due to a lot of the turmoil going on in the country, was how can we have a better handle on what our platform can be as student athletes to help the world around us and to be allies for people who need support and need allies. So we created, the first one is our community outreach captain. Our team voted not only on our on-field captains, but also on these 3 positions, and this is new this year. So Julia McDonough was able to take a lot of different ideas and choose some ways that we as a team could help the world around us. We did a fundraiser where we raised over $2,500 for pediatric cancer. Everyone ran 4 miles and asked for pledges and donations, and we were able to donate a large sum of money for that cause. That was really special to me. I ran my 4 miles, slower than my team, I'm sure, but it was a lot of fun to kind of be part of that with the team. The other one we have is our events and activities outreach captain. So Abby, our junior goalkeeper, has been working hard to combat the restrictions that we have as far as social distancing and mask wearing, and trying to find ways as a team that we can bond, get a little bit closer, try to get to know one another despite the hardship of not being able to really have a team dinner, have a team meal, get together and watch a movie as a team, and even our road trips. We're not allowed to do any of those things, obviously. So Abby's found ways to make it possible for us to get to know one another and to forge those bonds that are so important to playing on a college team. So you can see from the slide that she spearheaded a trip apple picking with the team, and she's done a lot of things. It'll culminate this week. You probably, if you're following our Instagram, as I know some of you are, Abby put together a Secret Santa project where teammates were given another teammate and are providing hints about who they are, picking songs that best represent that teammate, verbalizing something special, some trait or quality about that teammate that is special or meaningful to them. And tomorrow, during our last team event of the semester, we'll be revealing who those Secret Santas are. And I'm looking forward to seeing the team get to enjoy something special together. And our third one is our Melior outreach captain. And Savannah Sabs, as we call her, has done a fantastic job in linking the team to various events on campus and in our community that will give us a chance to do more to help the community around us, understand the environment that we live in, and educate ourselves as far as what we can do better as individuals and as a team. She's very passionate about this and has done a really superb job. And again, I credit my colleague Lottie with giving me this idea as a way to help bridge some of the void that we have as far as our ability to really connect. So some of the highlights of not playing games include some of the things that we always do. And for me, I have this fascination with piñatas and setting up targets and goals for people to hit. So I looked at a COVID and tried to replicate it by using a soccer ball piñata that I covered in white, and then got a feather boa and tried to make the little things that come out from the COVID images that you see on the news. So we put that piñata up in the goal and we did what we could to, use it as target practice, and then ultimately had to give up on that and just bash it down. And of course it was filled with treats and we enjoyed that a lot. As I've mentioned previously in the program, Dr. Seifer has been instrumental at helping us maintain our mental health as a team. What he's done for the team has been incredible. We've overutilized him this fall because we've had more time to do so. And he's met with our team twice a month and done a lot of different programs. He's also available for one-on-one consultations with student athletes who are struggling or just want to talk to someone that's not a coach. And he's been great. And then our Halloween practice, of course, was a lot of fun too, where we traditionally dress up in costumes and play. So despite, again, the limitations of COVID, what was important to us as coaches was to establish an environment that seems somewhat familiar for the team and gives them an outlet that's positive and a group of players to find time to be with. And these events were some of our highlights. But the biggest highlight of all is my next slide, which was our senior night. We knew that we couldn't do a traditional senior night this fall, given that we weren't playing any outside competition. And fortunately, we had enough players to do a full field scrimmage. So I thought it would be fun to surprise our seniors with this. So they had no idea what we were planning, and it was quite fun and funny. All the team knew except for our 3 seniors. So we were able to get them onto the field, and then a couple of parents who lived in states or the state of New York itself snuck onto campus to surprise their daughters. And for me, that was a really special night and special moment. The slide to the lower left is our team. After we walked out, instead of playing the national anthem, we decided we would surprise the team and play Ain't No Mountain High Enough. And for a lot of alums, they recognize that this is a song that has special meaning for the team. It's usually played before every single game that we play, and they have a special dance that they do, and it really does get them out of the locker room and onto the field with the mindset of, we are a family, nothing can stop us, let's go out and take this team down. So the photo that you can see there is them dancing to that song, which was a surprise to them, and it was a lot of fun, and it was a really special memory for me as a coach to be able to at least provide something similar to a senior night. So let me get to our alumni, who to me are the lifeblood of this program. They got us started and they continue to support us in so many ways. Recruiting has been a challenge because of the fact that we aren't able to bring people on campus the same way and show them the campus, which sells itself, in my opinion. It's such a gorgeous campus. It has such an academic reputation. But I thought that one way we could connect with our alums is to ask them if they would be willing to help us speak to recruits, especially recruits who are interested in the areas of study that they are currently working in. So the first student that we did was actually this past Monday night. We had Shelby Hall, who's number 18 down at the bottom. She is in her 2nd year of residency as a physician down in Philadelphia. The middle slide of Sayaka Abe, number 4. She is a chemical engineer working with Merck, actually working on COVID-19 vaccines at the moment. And then to the right, which is kind of behind your screen, I'm hoping you can see it okay. But that is Nancy Vansbach, who is a very recent alum, who was a biomedical engineering major and who is now working with NASA at their mission control. So I had 3 alums kind of in the sciencey area. who met with 12 recruits virtually, so via Zoom. And I kind of just gave them the floor and allowed them to talk about their experiences, what drew them to Rochester, and some insights about the ways that they were able to get to the jobs that they're currently in. And the recruits were able to ask them lots of questions. And I think that the one, my favorite question of the night came from a recruit who asked them what their favorite memory of Rochester field hockey was. And all of them said it wasn't even about the wins or losses. It wasn't about a championship or anything like that. It was just about the adrenaline of being with your teammates and walking out the tunnel, running out the tunnel rather, for their games, and just, that feeling of being part of a team. And, for me, that meant a lot given the fact that we weren't able to play a single game this fall. So, that was really a great experience. We have another one planned for next Monday as well with our non-sciencey alums. So a group of 3 that will talk about more of the social sciences. As for future events, I would be remiss if I didn't mention a sad occasion today. 17 years ago today, we lost Nancy Melvin Taylor, who was our program's first All-American, and one of the players that has really, I think, captured what Rochester field hockey is all about, as far as being a great person, being a great teammate, and inspiring everyone who knew her as far as her work ethic and her zest for life. You may know that we have had a group of alums who have come together to name the locker room after Nancy. And this fall would have been the locker room dedication ceremony, if not for COVID. So we certainly are looking forward to celebrating her legacy, and as soon as we're safely able to do so, honoring her with that locker room dedication. We have an alumni game every year, and I'm anxious and eager to put that on the calendar so that alums from recent years and all the way back through 50 years can come and join us, as we always do once a year. And as I've mentioned too, virtually, as far as recruiting, it's been wonderful to have alums join us in order to help our recruiting efforts. But my current players have also indicated an interest in getting to know their alums via Zoom. So we're hoping to plan some Zooms with our actual current team members so they can network and get to know all of the well-connected, successful, passionate Rochester field hockey alums. So that's something that we'll be planning during this long break before we come back to campus in February. So that brings me to the end of my slideshow and back to the original photo, which I hope conveys the phrase that I used to kind of start my presentation off, where as much as things have changed because of the pandemic, there's a lot of constant underlying supports that remain as far as being part of a team, and my job as a coach to try to keep our team unified, together and having a positive experience. So I will stop my share and go back to the main screen. And I believe that Ashley might be taking over now.
Wendy, thank you so much. What a wonderful presentation. You have so much great chatter going on in the chat box. People are just really impressed, and I think very happy with a lot of the initiatives that you've been doing this past year.
Thank you.
I just want to remind everyone to please feel free to submit questions in the Q&A box, and we'll continue to answer them live, as well as address some that were submitted during the registration process. So Wendy, I'll hopefully start you off with an easy one. Which coach has been the biggest influence in your coaching career?
Okay, that is an easy one. Thank you. I would have to say that my college coach, Nancy Stevens at the University of Connecticut. And I say that because for 4 years when I played there, I looked forward to going to my practices more than anything else in my college career. So, the social events, the parties, the fun stuff, it all pales in comparison to how much I enjoyed being out on the field and being with my team. She gave me my first start in coaching by letting me be a student coach at UConn when I finished my degree, and must have helped me a lot in getting my next job, which was at Syracuse University. because it was because of Nancy, I went into coaching, and because of Nancy that I wanted to provide an experience like the one I had, which was positive and uplifting and still just gives me a smile every time I think about it.
Thank you. It sounds like it was a wonderful mentor. You yourself, I believe, have been a really great mentor as well to some of your players. How many of your former players have gone on to become assistant coaches or head coach? And I believe that the number might be pretty substantial. And so why so many of them?
I think I will say, as I try to do the math in my head, I think I've had five assistant coaches that have coached with me have gone on. 3 have been head coaches and 2 have been assistant coaches. I would say there isn't anyone that loves their job more than me. I truly feel so grateful to be a field hockey coach. And when I look for assistant coaches, I look for similarly passionate women who love the sport. And I think when you have a staff that loves field hockey, it really does show through. And I think that despite the fact that we've had so many U of R students go on to be engineers and doctors, field hockey is a passion for everyone that's come through the program. And for my staff, they love field hockey and they had a great experience with working with Rochester student athletes. I don't think if I didn't coach at Rochester that we would have had as many people go on and be coaches.
Thank you. I'm going to take one of the live questions now. What has been keeping you sane during the pandemic? And I guess you can speak to coaching field hockey and on a personal level too, if you wish.
That's a great question. Honestly, connecting with my colleagues. It has been a challenge. Sometimes I feel like I'm at my wit's end as far as how can I make something fun when all we want to do is play a game? We as coaches and student athletes, the thing I think we all miss the most is competition, and not just among ourselves, but seeing another team that we can actually get a measurable outcome. And a lot of U of R students are very much outcome driven, type A, very competitive young women, and that's been a challenge. So connecting with other coaches across the sports and my own sport of field hockey has kept me sane. Calling them up, getting ideas, collaborating, and sharing.
Great. We have a couple of questions around the recruiting topic. Without being able to go see various players at recruiting events, how do I identify potential new recruits?
I will say that technology has been amazing as far as recruits being able to upload videos. So many creative videos come my way now where they're literally in their backyard playing on grass, or they're down in their basement and their parents have laid out some, that fake, AstroTurf carpet. So video has been huge. And also I've been relying more and more on calling up their club coach and their high school coach and saying, I haven't been able to get to a game, but can you please speak to this person's abilities? Phone calls, Zooms, getting to know them as people is critical. And so we've been able to do a lot of that. As I said, connecting using Instagram has been so helpful. And I credit my assistant coach completely for that, because Instagram is not my friend. But it's been really great at being able to at least show what we do as a program and who we are, and therefore, hopefully attract a like-minded student athlete that likes what we're doing here and wants to be part of it.
Thank you. Is there a typical position that you recruit for first?
No, unless it's a goalkeeper and they're very specific, but really we look for athleticism and versatility more than anything. And anyone that plays for me knows that it's unusual for them to come in having been a center forward and stay as a center forward for 4 years. So I really look for people who can contribute all over the field.
Is there a particular geographical area that you have the most success in recruiting?
I think the reputation of Rochester is definitely, all over the world for sure. But I will say in the Northeast, I think the name recognition has helped a lot of recruits seek us out as far as, understanding what Rochester, the value of that education can do. I would say within driving distance has always been our strongest region, simply because we're able to get to the campus a little bit easier. We do have some girls from California. We do have players that have come from as far south as Virginia and as far north as Maine. So, you know, we're pretty much wherever there's field hockey played, we're recruiting.
Great. Now you touched upon how field hockey alumni are currently helping you recruit with the Zooms. If the alum is interested in helping, what is the best way for them to get involved?
Text me or email me, and I'd love to get you involved. I've kind of been reaching out to alums that I know and that I have coached. But if I didn't coach you, or if you have opportunities for current players or even recruits that you'd like to talk with them about, I would love to bring you on board. I think that there's a lot of pride, and that's what my alums on Monday night spoke of, at being part of the University of Rochester. And it shone through. We spoke for an hour with the recruits, and most of it stemmed on, why Rochester and what it meant to you as a student and as a player. And I would love to hear from you. So just drop me a line anytime and we can get you involved.
Great. So looking forward, we know that there's many unknowns. However, do you have any insight to what you think that the spring field hockey practice may look like? And are there any chances for some games?
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier in the call, or if I didn't, I was remiss. Our administration at Rochester has been unbelievably supportive at trying to encourage as much student athlete experience as we can. They know the value of it. They know how important it is for the student athletes to, be able to do this. And so all along, we've been open to playing outside teams if they've been willing to play us. And I know that that's the case still, and that if there's an opportunity for us to play, our administration will make it happen. I did want to thank our trainer, Kristen, who has been unbelievable, and Eric Rosen, our head athletic trainer, for making it possible for our student athletes to continue to play. So as far as our situation goes as a Division III field hockey program, I think there aren't many out there that have had the opportunity to play as much as we have. So I do think the future bodes really well for us to play spring games. And to your question about what does spring practice look like, we have among the best Division III facilities, as my alums know and as my current players know. We have indoor boards ready to go, so we'll have an indoor season. We have an AstroTurf indoor, and then we'll move outside. So we're playing as much as we can in the spring and hoping that we can play games.
Great, thank you. We'll end it on a happy note. If you can tell us what your favorite or best Rochester memory is.
Oh, that's really tough. I have a lot, and they're not all about winning championships. I think that the biggest thing for me was the 50-year celebration last year, because I officiated the game, and we had players from the 1980s, 1990s, all the way up. And I think seeing the history of the program all on one field, all together, and getting to know each other. And it was just a super fun day. I didn't want the game to end, but of course we had to, because there was a football game, I think, being played right afterwards. But if I could have let that game go another hour, I would have, because it was so much fun to see players that I had coached, players that I hadn't coached, all out on the field together, enjoying the game.
That's wonderful. And there's been even more chat in the chat box. It looks like people also just have wonderful memories themselves and are very appreciative to you as a coach. So thank you, Wendy. At this time, I'd like to invite Terry back on to give some final remarks.
Well, I'm supposed to be an impartial host here, but I think that you can all see why we have such a successful field hockey program in Rochester. Wendy is clearly one of the top coaches, not only in our department, but in the nation. So she does an outstanding job. So Wendy, thank you very, very much for your presentation. Really appreciate it. And thank to every one of you that joined us today. We all hope you enjoyed it too. And a special thanks, of course, to our moderator, Ashley Steves Doherty, another great job by her. So we thank you all for your continued support of Rochester Field Hockey, and I invite you to contact Coach directly if you have any further questions. So have a great day, have a happy Thanksgiving, and go Jackets.
Thanks, Terry.